Hello everybody, thank you for the introduction.
Hello,
I am Alin.
I am Lucian.
And today we will talk a little bit about the Fileless malware. From an agenda perspective, our talk from today will cover a little bit of overview, some trends, a bit of information about modus operandi, and in the end we'll have a case study for the Fileless malware, where my colleague Lucian will cover a little bit the technical investigation that we performed some time ago. In terms of overview, if we are referring to security landscape, maybe you all have noticed that threat actors in 2017 are moving fast, very, very fast. And in terms of responsive, reactive cybersecurity operations, let's say, are not so mature as we are expecting to be. In terms of security landscape, it's very important for us to know a little bit, to figure out when, let's say, threat actors are coming and they are doing the bad stuff, and it would be very important for us to know which step we should take in order to avoid those threats. More than that, having a better understanding of security landscape would be a perfect idea, let's say, to figure out which are the security risks from today, and also we'll be able in this way to figure out how they will evolve from the risk of tomorrow. Also, very important at this point is, let's say, to take into consideration both knowing your weaknesses, let's say, and also the attacker capabilities, just to prevent some attacks and in this way dramatically change the information security program. I think you all know that at this moment we are not able to prevent all attacks, just because the traditional security mechanisms added in place are not so effective. They became ineffective, and the security companies are struggling to cope. In terms of enterprise security, I think you all agree that it's very important for us to know the business, because it reflects the digital environment, and knowing very well the digital environment, then we will be able to identify which data has the organization, and also, let's say, view or identify where that data is used, where that data stays, and not to forget about how many mechanisms, computer systems are connected to our environment. Having a better understanding of the amount of information mentioned, we will be able to familiarize ourselves with procedures and vulnerabilities. And from my perspective, I think half of the battle is already covered. The other half of the battle would be to know your adversary, your antagonist, your attacker. And at this moment, it's very important. Let's say it's way easier to fight against known antagonists rather than trying to cover, trying to prevent the unknown. Also, it's very important for us to have a good knowledge and to have way good information, because at this point you need to make sure that your network, your colleagues, let's say, are able to provide intelligence in order to detect and capture the threats that either being the company affected, surveillance, or some other type of threats, attacks. Then, if we're staying a little bit on this picture, it's again, it's very important for us to have the intelligence, the threat intelligence. I think you all heard about that. It's that piece of information that should be actionable, and from which the companies should be able to ingest, to create some security mechanisms, should create some procedures, should maybe a little bit of extending the security mechanisms that are put in place. Going to fileless malware, I think it's very important to mention that lately everyone heard about fileless malware, because looking at Google Trends, the interest for fileless malware became somewhere around 2014, then went up in 2015, and we have a spike in 2017. It's very important to take into consideration that most of the current malwares and threats are using this technique. If we are going to cover a little bit the investigation phase, we are very, very interested in let's say having at least these 4 steps covered. And from my perspective, I would start with discovering indicators of compromise, because in this way we can assess the damage. We can search, either being atomic indicators or behavioral. We can identify the threat. Then, determining the sophistication level, we can move on and identify what vulnerability was exactly exploited. In terms of a little bit of modus operandi at this moment, from the security analysis perspective, it's quite important to capture those events, having in mind the indicators of compromise that we've already collected. Put some capture events, capture that activity, go further to endpoint forensic, carving a little bit the memory and going to binary extraction, reversing engineering that sample, and in the end we turn back to standard incident response and security analytics. When at this moment, I saw a little bit of commonalities between standard threats and fileless malware, because the first 3 steps are, let's say, common, and we have a little bit of we have to pay attention to the 4th step. And in terms of explanation, I'm pretty sure that everyone knows what mean each of every step. But what is stealth? Yes, we have to make sure that the threat. Yes, the other way around. The threat is staying on that environment as long as possible without being detected. The privilege escalation, when we refer to privilege escalation, we refer to someone trying to exploit a vulnerability in order to get admin rights, and hence, therefore, they could be able to do whatever they would like to do. In terms of information gathering, harvesting those systems and those data in order to be used in the further stages of this attack or other attacks. And if we are going to persistence, this is the most important steps, and we have to be sure that that fileless malware, without having a binary or any file written on the system, will start up again, and we'll have that payload run in memory every time when the system is rebooted. In terms of persistence, there are those three standard ways to make sure that the persistence was achieved. The Windows management instrumentation. We know that the Windows management instrumentation is it's the administrator tool, because at the origin that was created just to make sure that we can get system configuration, we can run scripts, we can run tasks, we can run automatize a lot of that information, a lot of that activity. The most important location where a file should be created and remain for the future references is in Windows registry, and not to forget about PowerShell, which is standard inherited scripting language, which all, or at least most of the users, most of the attackers are using in order to run their payloads. I'm going to pass the floor to Lucian, and he's going to talk about the fileless malware that we prepared for our session.
Yes, I will present a case study, a real-life incident, where I had an incident for Bitcoin mining, and we didn't know what happened because we didn't have any alerts before like this, where we had the cryptocurrency starting with mining full login detected. And analyzing the pickup, we found that there is an email address from Russia with XMRig user agent, and we found that this is a Monero CPU miner with official Windows support. Okay, the investigation started on a remote workstation, but when you are an analyst, you don't have full admin rights on a workstation, remote control. You only can see through an endpoint solution, like Encase. You can see what processes are running, what auto-run lines there are in auto-run registry keys. You can see the network connections, and you can see what were the latest files opened. And I started the investigation by checking all the processes from the workstation, and I checked almost all of the processes, the hashes of them, and all of them were clean, were not alterated, at least from remote. And to continue the investigation, I had to download the registry keys from the remote workstation and to implement the keys into my virtual machine. And I had to copy this end-user date, USR class date, security system software. But to arrive here to export the registry, I found a key in the remote machine where there was a phrase which included PowerShell command, and from there I thought that the next step is to analyze the registry of the workstation. And after this is the line I found on the workstation. See Windows is wow, shell, PowerShell X, Windows Star hide, no logo, no interactive. The problem when I started to analyze the workstation was that not all these lines were shown on the screen to me. I only had see Windows is wow 64 Windows, and that's it. And to be able to see all these commands, I had to hover, like in Outlook when you see a link to see the real address. Because in case not showing you all the line, it hides and only show you if you hover on the line. Okay.
Just a small comment. At that point, I brought into discussion the importance of the threat intelligence, just because we had a lot of activities and a lot of malicious activities, and we started from creating that snort rule as the first stage. We, let's say, implemented that rule. After we implemented that rule, we ended up with a lot of alerts, and from those alerts we identified, I can't remember the exact name, but a lot of systems that were making connections to those IPs, and a lot of incidents were cut based on that mining login activity. Then there is a limited amount of time for each and every incident, and this is the reason for which Lucian was mentioned that the window where she first glanced was a small window, and we didn't pay attention that there is a bigger command, not just sys wow system windows and whatever. So starting from the first system, then the second slide was to present the registries, the services, everything, and having a glance over those registries, those services, you will end up noticing that all of them are legitimate, and there is no malicious activity. So what's next? What's the next step? After that, sorry. Yes, 100 incidents. Perfect. Okay. Then we started to pay way more attention to incidents, because the activity continued, and there was something bad happening in those systems. And at that time, Lucian started to analyze, to pay a little bit more attention to registries, and hovering that autorun. He noticed that we have a PowerShell command, and from that point on, he managed to identify 3 steps in the investigation. We have the first step, the autorun key. The second step that he's going to talk about in a moment, it's the second stage, not to disclose his presentation, and you will see that we have the third step. And at this moment, I think it's very, very important to pay a lot of attention and to have a, let's say, good intelligence from which to start.
Okay, so I saw that in autorun we had this command with PowerShell, and if you pay attention in this command, you will see that from base 64 string, it refers to another registry key or random key, and after that you can see a random name which is VQGA. Okay, VQGA, it is the script, the encoded base 64 script, which commands the virus itself. And the virus is located to that random registry key from classes. So this is the VQGA script in base 64 encoded, which contains 35,000 characters. This is how it looked, a part of it decoded. And here it is the virus itself, the encrypted DLL module. Okay, so what do you do next? Because you have the registry file from another computer, and you need to run the virus. But as we all know, the registry files of the computers are unique. So if you import a registry file from another computer, there are chances that it doesn't work. So I had the idea to implement first all three stages: the autorun, the script file, and the encrypted DLL module. I created a new profile user, I imported all the registry keys, I restarted the virtual machine, nothing. After that, I had to find another way to run the virus to extract all the indicators, to see what it does after the virus is run. If it tries to contact other indicators and not only the one we know from the alert, from the incident itself. So first I decoded the script from base 64, and I tried to run it, and nothing happened. Okay. After that, I searched on Google, of course. Everybody does search on Google. Google is our best friend. And I had to find a way to run the virus. And I saw that if you run PowerShell ISE from command prompt, you can paste the base 64 decoded text, and if you run it, it will work, because it will try to contact the virus by pasting the autorun process. So basically, what I did with PowerShell ISE, I skipped the autorun, and I skipped the command which is received from the autorun to run the virus. And in this way, I was able to run the virus, and besides that, I ran a fake DNS that if the virus will run, to have a response and not to stop, because he cannot contact any indicators. And I opened the Wireshark, and I saw that it tried to contact two URLs, soplifan.ru and duplicano.ru. And I let the machine running, and I saw that this traffic is repeated every 9 minutes. So it's not something that it does in a loop. After that, when the virus is run, I saw that it injects itself in vscript.exe. msexec.exe file, which is a legit file from Windows. And from there, it tries to contact that indicators. And after I saw that this program is run by the virus, I dumped the memory, and I captured the msexec.exe. And after that, I tried with strings, and I found another 126 domains in the memory of the virtual machine. The biggest concern is, okay, when you work in a corporate environment, you are most secure than most of the users, because somebody will watch your traffic, like a SOC or a knock or something, and you can see the spike from the network. But imagine yourself if you are a user at home. This virus malware is not detected by any antivirus. I made a test by that. I exported the base 64 script, decoded, and I sent it to an antivirus company to see what it says. And the response from them was that it is a Trojan PowerShell, blah, blah, blah. But after the antivirus company updated the signatures, I scanned the computers which were infected, and he didn't find anything, even after the boot. So, if you get this kind of virus at home, you are done. You can discover, because it doesn't make the callbacks in a loop to have a spike and to see on your router, for example. Well, and if you scan your computer, you cannot detect it.